Police and Emergency Services Minister Bob Cameron will see the Commission's final report for the first time Saturday. I spoke to him about the government's performance over the bushfire period. Minister, do you acknowledge a failure in leadership on Black Saturday?
Well, I think, the Commission, it will make up its mind about people or about agencies.
No, but do you acknowledge, no, the Commission will make its recommendations, but do you acknowledge that on Black Saturday there was a failure in leadership?
Well, when it comes to me, I believe I acted appropriately, and Counsel Assisting told the Commission that I acted entirely appropriately. But this Commission really has to be about, the families and the communities that were affected, and making sure, to the extent possible, we can mitigate against those risks for the future, for future families and future communities.
You say you didn't fail in your leadership. What about the leadership of the agencies that mattered?
Well, the Royal Commission will make up their own mind about those things, and we'll see what they say.
Have you learnt anything in terms of leadership that is needed on such a day, a disaster day?
Well, I think everybody has learnt coming out of the 7th of February that things have to be done differently, and no doubt the Commission will make different recommendations. But if you have a look, last year I wanted to change control and command arrangements. They had to be examined, and the Chief Commissioner did a review, and we have had a change in relation to command and control. We have had significant changes in relation to the way information is to be delivered, how there is to be greater accountability in the agencies about incident control centres being ready.
And what would you do differently?
Well, I think you have to separate out politicians from operational people. Obviously, you don't want politicians interfering in operational decisions.
So you wouldn't do anything differently?
I believe that what I have to do, just as I did on the 7th, is to get things moving, and I don't believe there's been any criticism of that.
Why won't the government fully commit to implementing the recommendations of the final report?
Well, I know the opposition says it will just implement everything, but it's like any report that comes to government. Governments have to consider it. That's what we do with every report. What our commitment is to consider it and make decisions very quickly. We have to look at, all of these things and how they will affect Victoria for the long term. And, we have got to look at it, we've got to believe it, and we've got to own it, because we want to do the right things for Victorians going forward.
Minister, on Black Saturday, 173 people died, and I think their friends and relatives, indeed all Victorians, would like to hear an admission of responsibility from someone in authority. Do you and the Premier accept your share of responsibility for what's gone wrong before, during and after the fires?
Well, I think, if you have a look, go back to the 6th of February, people would say of our emergency services that the arrangements were good, but if you have a look on the 7th, all of that, of course, was cast to one side. We had an unprecedented event, but ultimately, if there's to be blame, the Commission will apportion that, and they will report on it.
But without the Commission pointing a finger, do you and the government take some responsibility for what occurred?
Well, as a government, what our commitment has been since the time we've been in government is to invest heavily in emergency services. And, it's what the Premier has said previously. Collectively, we all have to be responsible. Maybe, who was to foresee that there wouldn't be events far, far worse, which nobody had. But certainly, I believe, government has invested in emergency services, and after this event, we've said that there has been this unprecedented event, but we have to factor that in for the future. I know that I've spoken to so many people in emergency services and said, we can't simply think of this as being, a one-off thing. We have to all change. We have to all adapt for what are essentially new circumstances. And as a government, of course, we have to be responsible for helping to drive that.
Minister, thank you for your time.
Thank you.